please stand on your feet and give a warm welcome to the Mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Our beloved mayor will also be joined by the founder of the Honest Company, Jessica Alba. And this event will be moderated by Eric Smith, Vice Chairman of BMO. Some of them think they freak this like we do, but no, they don't. Make your check come at the neck.
Good morning, everyone. It's exciting to be here and to see so much energy in the room, but also exciting to be joined by the Honorable Mayor Karen Bass and the acclaimed Jessica Alba. So we're looking forward to having a really exciting discussion today around the economy, how small businesses can really take part of the economy, and all of the things that we have going on here in LA to support small businesses. So I'm going to start first just by really maybe having a little bit of a personal dialogue to talk about the journey. Because Jessica, you've gone from Hollywood to business and taking the star power with you wherever you go to accomplish great things. And I'd love for you to share a little bit of that inspiration and the magic with this audience of what really motivated you to start your own business and to have a mission-driven business at that here in LA.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I would say what motivated me to go really to create a company was my family. I grew up third generation Mexican American in a Mexican American household. I was born in Pomona, California. I believe we're just on the edge of LA County Fairplex. That's basically my backyard. And my parents did the best they could while I was growing up. We definitely lived paycheck to paycheck. My dad started a small mortgage and real estate company, which he still has. And I felt like when you don't have so many resources, it's really hard to really think about how to thrive. And I started working at age 12 as an actor, and I was able to help contribute to my family's household income. When I was 27, I became a mother for the first time, and I had an allergic reaction to a detergent that was geared or marketed for babies. And when I had this allergic reaction, I went back to my own childhood. I actually spent a lot of time in the hospital as a child. I suffered from pretty severe asthma, allergies, and I had many different surgeries. Luckily, my dad was in the military, in the Air Force, and so I was able to get the health care that I needed with the government assistance. But ultimately, I was looking at, what if my baby had an allergic reaction to this detergent? What if other children are exposed to certain chemicals we don't even know that we're exposing ourselves to? So I looked at what could possibly have caused this issue. I learned that there are lots of untested, potentially harmful chemicals in everyday products, from detergents to beauty products to personal care products, all the way through to baby products. And I was like, someone's got to do it better. I lobbied on Capitol Hill for chemical reform. I was quickly reminded that healthcare is politicized, unfortunately. And so I remembered, though, that I was born in this incredible country where if you have a good work ethic, if you have perseverance, you can make something of yourself. And so I was like, what if I create a for-profit business that has the foundation of a nonprofit? And basically, if my business does well, it will prove to other CPG companies that maybe they should do it a little bit better. So we were really based in transparency, clean ingredients, really putting health and wellness of human beings and the planet at the center of my company. And we also give back. So those were the pillars. I have to say, it was really hard. 3.5 years I spent on this business, and I had many, many people tell me I was crazy. There was no way it would ever happen. They were not going to fund it. It was too big of an idea. They were like, can't you just be the face of a perfume or something like other celebrities? And I was like, well, perfume is also toxic in a lot of ways, so I can't do that. It's the antithesis of what I'm trying to do. And so I finally got it together and partnered with a serial entrepreneur that I knew venture capital was really comfortable with investing in, brought him on as my co-founder after 3.5 years of getting a lot of doors shut in my face. And I launched The Honest Company in 2012. We built it from the ground up. We didn't spend any money on marketing in the beginning. And I went to like mommy blogger events. Now it's like Instagram communities and Facebook communities, but back in the day it was mommy bloggers. And I would go and we would build community together and they would share the word. That's how Honest started, was really around these like more grassroots efforts. And we leveraged social media in a way that no other company had ever really built. And we had a direct relationship with our customer, which was also very different at the time than other companies. And in 2021, I was able to take the company public and ended up being the youngest Latina to take the company public. So,
Congratulations. That is an incredible journey that you've been on. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the partnerships? Because you mentioned partnering with a private equity firm to provide capital. But as we also think about the Supplier Diversity Summit here today, can you share a little bit about the journey with partnering with maybe some of the larger companies that helped you to scale your global brand?
Yep. So in the beginning, we actually partnered with a lot of small businesses that were like-minded. And so we didn't make, for example, with my baby products, because we had baby products, detergents, and personal care, but like we didn't make cribs and strollers. So we partnered with a small business that made cribs and strollers, and we did a collaboration. And we did a lot of these types of partnerships with a bunch of smaller brands that were on the same level as us or a little bit bigger than us. And we worked together to build our audience together. And so I would say that is definitely something that is very helpful for a business when you are growing your business and in the early stages. It's important to find like-minded businesses, someone that also you just want to hang out with and you like. I have friends who had businesses in fashion. My business wasn't a fashion business, but I liked her as a person. She was a mom. And so we did a diaper collaboration, and we got to give $250,000 to women in Guatemala. And it was just like who were artisans, and they made these amazing one-of-a-kind diaper bags. We got to do a lot of these really interesting collaborations where we got to lift up communities and we got to grow our businesses together.
You learn a lot through your accomplishments, but you also learn from some of the challenges that you face and maybe some of the setbacks. Can you share a little bit about those experiences that you had that were rich in preparing you because of the setbacks that you may have experienced early on?
I would say the thing that Hollywood taught me was rejection doesn't define you. And every no means like, it's just not a yes yet. And I would say all of you probably have that spirit. You're just not really seeing it the way you need to see it. So you just got to figure out how to talk to them a certain way for them to get it. And it's also divine timing. You got to create your own luck. You got to wait for that right window. Even the guy that partnered with me to get my business off the ground, I pitched him The Honest Company, and he was like, actually, no, I'm creating a shoe subscription business called Shoe Dazzle. And he was trying to get me to be the face of that. And I was like, no, I want to create The Honest Company. And he was like, sorry. He got Kim Kardashian to be the face of Shoe Dazzle. They launched their company. 18 months later, his wife has a baby. She threw out everything in their house because she was afraid of all the chemicals. And I pitched him the same company again, and he was like, "This is genius." So I'm like, have faith and conviction in your idea. And it's just about that divine timing, you know?
That's a perfect segue because Mayor Bass, you've now been the executive CEO of LA for a year.
2 years.
2 years. And I've heard you say countless times that small businesses are the economic engine for LA. And hearing the inspiring story from Jessica about the Honest Company, we can certainly appreciate why that is the case. Can you share with the audience what your administration is doing to support small businesses like the Honest Company?
Well, absolutely. And I think today is a perfect example of it. So it's wonderful to be here with you this afternoon. And I have to call out my Deputy Mayor, Rachel Freeman, who I believe you heard from earlier. So this is all her. It's about you're focused on a goal, and I loved what you were saying, Jessica. The entertainment industry teaches you rejection, so do politics. And you keep fighting. You have an idea, you have a dream, you have a goal, and you keep fighting for it until you can convince other people that this is the way to go. And so to me, you know, we know that one of the biggest issues in LA is the economic divide, income inequality, the fact that over the years, this city has become too expensive. One, to pay for housing, and two, just to live. And so if we want to close the economic gap, then clearly the backbone to that is strengthening our small business sector, since small businesses is where the majority of Angelenos work. And so making sure that when I took over that I would hire somebody who was strictly focused on business and understood that is why Deputy Mayor Rachel Freeman, who came up with this idea, and when I walked out on stage and to see everybody here, it is amazing. And so to me, my goal is to make sure that all of you are successful, and procurement, very, very big issue. Well, the city of LA does billions of dollars in business, and a lot of the businesses that we work with are not necessarily from LA, they're not from California. And to me, I want to change that, because if we're doing billions of dollars in business, it needs to be with Angelenos first. And then here we're all talking about the Olympics, but Jessica and I were talking earlier, you know, the Olympics is 2028. The beginning of 2026, we have the All-Star basketball game. A few months later, we have the US Open for golf for women. Then we have the World Cup. 8 games are played here, but the World Cup lasts for 40 days. 2027, we have the Super Bowl. Then we get around to the Olympics. So if you can imagine 40 days of the World Cup, well, all of the watch parties, all of the festivals associated with that are small business opportunities. And so what I think is key, and I've not run a for-profit small business, but I have started and run nonprofits. And RFPs are for for-profits and nonprofits. And we all know that the key is how the RFP is written, because the RFP can be written to make sure that the only businesses that qualify are businesses who are not in California. And so to me, we need to be, and you need to be, on the ground floor when those opportunities come up, whether it's with the city, whether it's with one of the major events. Jessica Alba is also on the board of LA28, and LA28 is the independent nonprofit that is responsible for actually putting the games on. So we have to make sure that we are closely connected to you as these opportunities come up, because typically folks in our community find out afterwards or the day before, and do not have the assistance that they need in developing the bids, which is why we wanted to work with people a year or more out so they can begin thinking and preparing now.
Mayor Bass, we all watched in extreme admiration the Paris Olympics, and we saw history in the making with the first woman mayor of Paris handing the Olympic flag to the first woman mayor of LA. And as you just touched on the fact that there's a lot of preparation that goes into being on the world stage, what are some of the things that you're doing right now to help prepare as we get ready for these upcoming sporting events?
Well, hosting an event like this is number one because we want you to participate. But you all know we have to address the problems that we drive by and see every day. Whether it's the tens of thousands of people who are unhoused, and you know that on day one, my first day as mayor, I put the city in a state of emergency because to me, it's an emergency for 46,000 people to be on the street. We've been able to get lots and lots of people housed, so hopefully, although the tents are still there, hopefully you see fewer tents. But you know, it's like we want to get our house ready to welcome the world. And so one of the things we need to do is clean up this city because it's dirty. It's dirty. When I drive down the streets and I see all of the graffiti, I just imagine that graffiti changing into murals because we have a beautiful history and tradition of murals in many of our communities. And so I was explaining earlier that today in a couple hours, I'm meeting with some of the community-based organizations that do graffiti removal. And then the graffiti artists now are all connected via social media. So I have an idea. What if we gather them together and say, instead of your initials, could you paint something? I will tell you, it's an international phenomenon. So over in Paris, they had the same type of graffiti, but not as much as ours. But anyway, there's a lot of just nuts and bolts that we need to do. When I was there the first time in March, meeting with the mayor, who was so wonderful. I mean, she just opened up City Hall and made it so accessible to us. Well, I was so impressed. I said, well, when the Olympics is over, could you send your folks to LA? And she's actually doing that. So there'll be a team here next week of staff from the mayor's office so they can drill down with us in all the other cities. Because, you know, Inglewood, Pasadena, Carson, Santa Monica, you know, the games are going to be in many locations. So we want to bring the staffs together from those various cities so we can begin to prepare now. We have to not think about 2028. We have to think about 2026. We have to get our house in order.
I appreciate you sharing some of the best practices that you're already leveraging from Paris. And I'd love, Jessica, maybe if you can share some thoughts for how small businesses like the Honest Company can be a part of this economic journey here with all of the global events that are going to be going on. What's some advice that you can share?
So, I mean, I think it takes on our end, on the board of the Olympics, and Mayor Bass, of course, is a huge advocate of small businesses. She really is focused on removing barriers. And so you have an incredible ally here who will make sure that you are seen, that you are heard, and that you thrive, which I think is we're like 80% there. Now, the extra 20% is going to be how to get it done, how to formalize it, and how to create a customer experience. So when people do come in for the games, they get to interface and interact with all of you and all of your businesses. And so we were talking backstage, and I have a couple of ideas around how that could possibly happen, but I really think that you are the heartbeat of this city, and we have to elevate you. If it's just these big branded experiences, it won't feel authentic. And so I'm really focused on trying to figure out the best way to lift all of your communities up so that you guys can shine in beauty, health and wellness, retail, F&B. How can we activate you so that when people come, when our guests come, they see you, they see all of you guys shine?
Well, let me, Jessica was sharing that idea with me before we came out, but let me just paint a more specific picture because I think it's a brilliant idea. So I was thinking, I don't want people when they come to this city to just think about the traditional tourist sites. I want them to go to East LA, to South LA, to the San Fernando Valley, both sides, East and West, uh, Pico Union area. So you land at LAX, you get a QR code, and the QR code tells you where all the neighborhoods are. You know, if you want to go to have Ethiopian food, it'll send you over to Fairfax. Or did you know there was Little Bangladesh or Little Tehran? I know in the San Pedro area, they want that to be Croatia. Because there's a lot of Croatians there. So what they did in Paris was they had all of these different places where you could go. The countries sponsored like the Africa House, and you go in there and all of the African nations that participated in the games were there. What Jessica was saying, you know, when you go to the Olympics, you might come from another country and you might just see water polo. So you have a lot of extra time. So maybe the same app, the same thing that you would get on the QR code would tell you where you could get your nails done or your hair done or which restaurants to go to. That way, knowing what your businesses are could be a part of that so that people would then say, well, I could go over here and have this service. So they're not just blindly going around, or that there's more than one place to go shopping. And so that way we really expand the reach. And what I loved about Paris was you felt like everybody in Paris could participate in the Olympics. Whether you went to the games or not, there was something happening related in your neighborhood.
I really appreciate how you're bringing in the perspective of working with each community across the LA market to help create that thriving economy that works for all. And one of the things that BMO would like to make sure that we can do is partner with Mayor Bass and helping to make sure that we can provide access to capital to make sure that small businesses will be able to engage in this opportunity that lies ahead. So we'll be coming back to share more about what we can do in partnership with the city. Jessica, can I have you maybe close by just sharing some words of advice? Whatever you see as sort of those pearls of wisdom that you would share for entrepreneurs. One thing I know that had to be pretty daunting for you was kind of maybe taking a pause and something that you were very passionate about doing in terms of your acting career, and then making a transition and going bold and helping to launch a business. That's not easy to do.
No, I think it's not easy, but it's something that's very common. I think a lot of us here wear many hats. I think a lot of us kind of spread ourselves a little bit thin sometimes. And sometimes you can feel very alone in the journey. And so I would say the more that you can prioritize your own self-care, your wellness, whatever that looks like. If you need to have your weekly meetup with your girlfriends and you need to just have a couple glasses of wine and talk mess, go for it. Or if you need to have a Sunday where you let your husband take the kids and you just like, I just need quiet until 10 a.m. and then I can be a person, do that. But I think just carving out time for yourself so that you can recharge, I think is something that's so necessary and important, and no one told me that. I felt like I ran myself ragged, and I was doing it for my business, and I was doing it for my family, and I was doing it for this, and I never put myself first. But if your tank is empty, it's really hard to continue to keep going. Also, keep your eye on the prize. We do have opportunities here. We do have the World Cup. We do have the US golf. We do have women's golf. We do have the Olympics coming. So this city is going to be very active with a lot of tourism and a lot of people coming in. And so take advantage, create your own luck. Also build community with one another. You don't have to be competitive with others that are like-minded. You could lift each other up and you will be stronger. And so I'm inspired by this room. I know you guys are hustlers. I feel this kindred spirit here. And just know that we are doing all that we can to try and open the doors, create that path, create that road so it's easier for you to run through when it's time.
Thank you. And Mayor Bass, I'm going to close with you because it takes great vision and leadership to be able to have these opportunities coming for Los Angeles that will create a legacy for many here in this room. Can you share the pearls of wisdom with the group that you see in terms of what lies ahead and how to capture that?
Well, absolutely. And, to me, to have all of these world events come our way, it's really a blessing and it's an opportunity for all of us to take advantage. But it's not something that just happens naturally. We have to push for it, we have to fight for it, because what happens oftentimes is those folks that are plugged in and are well connected are the ones that have the opportunities, and most of us don't even know about the opportunities until long afterwards. So one of the things that I would just say is please stay engaged, because to me it is a collective battle for us to get our city ready and for us to be ready and all of you to be ready to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to come your way. I love Jessica saying, keep your eyes on the prize. That is definitely one of the mottos I live by. I am a risk taker. I consider myself a constructive disruptor because sometimes you need to disrupt situations in order to move them along. And so I would just ask you to join with me, join with us, because that's the way we solve problems that impact all of us, whether it's housing people. And let me just mention one campaign that we're going to do, if you don't mind. Veterans. So this was a problem that we had to solve. Do you know one of the reasons why so many veterans are homeless is because when they receive veterans benefits, they count it as income, and then they say, I can't give you this housing voucher because you make too much money. How crazy is that? So we pulled together a group of mayors. We had over 50 mayors around the country go to DC, and we were able to get that changed. So in a month or so, we're going to call on Angelenos to do your patriotic duty. If you have an apartment building, if you have property, we have a voucher for the veteran. Please take the veteran in. We even fought to get the rent raised so that the vouchers are worth more. When we have the collective spirit that is either cleaning up our city or housing people, that's the way we get the city ready to welcome the world, and that's the way all of you can benefit. We are going to fight to make sure that opportunities are spread around as far as they can possibly go. Thank you.
Please join me in a round of applause for Jessica Alba and Mayor Karen Bass.
Thank you, Mayor and Karen Bass, Jessica Alba, and Eric Smith for joining us today.